So, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be going over graphics card reflowing. And in this case, I am going to be specifically talking about the R9 270X GPU that I have right here. And this is actually my first graphics card ever that I got way back in 2013, 2014-ish. And I killed it a few years ago, specifically 5 years ago. And it has been dead ever since, up until 2 days ago. And just to see my reaction when everything started working, here you go. It is jaw-dropping experience, to say the least. At least even just see this card go into post, because I have not seen that in years. So it was like a really nice little piece of nostalgia for me. But I did have to try and do this for a project, so I figured, you know, why not actually make a video on it? So, reflowing your GPU. What is the basic process? Basically, the process is this. If there are components on your PCB that are kind of out of place, it'll just reset them because the solder will heat up, melt a little bit, everything will kind of shift back onto the pads, and then when it cools off, it should settle back on. In theory, that is reflowing in its most basic definition. That is not exactly what it is. You can look it up and read articles on it. There are plenty of material and things about it online and on forums. I would highly recommend to do that. So, would I suggest doing this? Yeah, if your GPU is dead and you want to try fixing it, go right ahead. What's the worst that can happen? You think you're breaking it anymore? Probably not. If it's already dead, worth a try. In this case, in order to fit it in the reflow oven that I was using, I actually had to saw off the top DVI connector, and it looks pretty bad, as you could see there. If it decides to focus, there you go. It's pretty ugly, but as long as none of the pins are touching each other, it's no issue at all, as I'm literally like shorting every PCI Express connector at the bottom. But yeah, other than that, it worked pretty well. And the basic process that you would need to do is just, or at least the things you'll need to have, is an old electric toaster oven or a reflow oven. If you're using a toaster oven, make sure you don't actually cook anything in it anymore. I have to say that because I feel like some people might do that, and you shouldn't, because there's a lot of toxic fumes that get released. And if you do use a toaster oven, please make sure you're in a very, very, very well ventilated area and clear the room of anybody else in there, or do it outside. One of the things you'll have to know is that the temperature has to be fairly high for this to work. So for my case, I did 200 degrees Celsius at 5 minutes and then another 215 degrees Celsius at 5 minutes. So a total of 10 minutes at an average around 207 to 208 degrees Celsius. And I will put the conversions into freedom units, aka Fahrenheit, over here. So now that you have all of that down, and you could probably apply this to your GPUs because a lot of the processes have not changed, and I highly doubt that they've changed the type of solder to something that melts at a very, very high temperature. And even if it does, as long as it gets hot enough to melt enough to the point where things can raise up and settle back down, just even ever so slightly, might actually work for you. You could use a toaster oven, that'll work fine. Just probably like turn the convection off, would not be a great idea to have that on. And then the other thing that I would say is, if you're using a reflow oven, just make sure you have enough clearance, otherwise you'll have to chop off connectors like I did, and it's not fun. It's actually kind of sad watching it and nerve-wracking, because you don't know if you'll like cut off some caps or anything, because those are also pretty tall, so just be wary of that. But it did work out really well. And I actually tested this with an i7-4770 and 16 gigs of RAM. Actually, the rig is shown in a different video too. I could link that down below as well, and you could take a look at that. It's whether or not the 4770 is viable in 2021/2022. Highly recommend you go take a look at it. Very informative. It's my style of benchmarking, which used to not have FPS, but I got some negative feedback on it. So for this video, I have FPS numbers, and I have 3D mark numbers, and I have temperature. So I'm using conventional benchmarking methods. Insane, right? So this card right here, I was able to, God, I'm not gonna break this thing. I was able to get this running on the 4770 rig, and I have some results here. So if you take a look at the graphs, you'll see that this card actually fared pretty well. And It idled at around 40 degrees Celsius, and its max temperature was actually only like 65, which I thought was crazy, especially running 3D Mark on this old card. I used 3D Mark Firestrike, not Extreme, and not Firestrike Extreme, rather. And I also ran Rise of the Tomb Raider 2013, and I ran Dirt 3. And I figured just using games from 2013 probably a good idea. I could have run like GTA 5, that is a 2013 game, but it is pretty demanding, and this card only has 2 gigs of VRAM. And I didn't want to kill it anymore, ever again. And that is the other thing with reflowing. You have to be careful, or at least just keep your expectations low, because even if the card does end up working, it could still die in the end. It could be after a day, a week, a month, a year. There's no real guarantee that it will last for a long time. So just, again, keep all of that in mind. This is not a guaranteed fix. It's more of a temporary thing. If you have a GPU, in my case, I just wanted to test it so I could get some data for the report I'm making on it. And if you're expecting it to be very reliable in like a work setting, I wouldn't. And for gaming, very demanding workloads, it might just crash on you one day again and break itself, or brick itself, and you might have to go reflow it again. And so just keep that in mind. It is not a process that just makes everything better. It does fix things, but it's more of like treating the issue rather than just fixing it. Fixing it would just be getting a new card. And don't do this if you are out of warranty. I will place a reflowing guide in the description. It's a Linus Tech Tips video from a few years ago, so you could go ahead and check that out. It's actually what inspired me to actually try this out, as well as some forum posts. You could go ahead and look up specific ones for your GPU just to get the temperatures down, but for the most part 200 to 250 should be around the area that you should be aiming for around 5 to 10 minutes. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I sure enjoyed making it and going through the process of actually reflowing this whole GPU, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I try to read all the comments and respond to them. I really appreciate the feedback, and I try to really listen to them just because I want to make sure you guys get the best experience watching these videos. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.